Hi, friends. This is Lindsay Cross, Government Relations Director with Florida Conservation Voters. And I literally just signed off from one of the webinars that the Florida Department of Transportation has been holding this week to discuss the MCORs, or as we know of them, the Roads to Ruin projects. And I just wanted to give a quick recap about this because I've been participating both as a concerned Floridian and as a member of the No Roads to Ruin Coalition. Again, a group of more than 85 businesses and organizations that have been opposing these proposed toll roads that would bring destruction to the state of Florida. So in response to the pandemic, of course, it would have been irresponsible to hold in-person task force meetings. Again, there are 3 toll roads that are being considered. The Southwest Central corridor, which goes roughly from Collier County, Naples area to Polk County. The Northern Turnpike, which is a 4-county area, which would go from the terminus of that over into the Nature Coast area. And then a final one, the Suncoast corridor, which includes Citrus County all the way up to the border of Georgia. So as a way to keep the task force members engaged, DOT decided to host a series of webinars. On Tuesday, the Southwest Central Florida group met. On Wednesday, the Northern Turnpike, and just today, the Suncoast Connector. So myself and other concerned members of the public were able to listen in on a presentation by DOT, and really not any substantial comments by the task force members, but really just any questions that they had in response to a homework exercise that they've been given. So there are many things that are wrong with this. First of all, I want to acknowledge that we're all having to stretch ourselves and address things in a different way to be sensitive to the global health and economic crisis that we're experiencing right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. So I do understand that things are not perfect, but I can tell you that a webinar is not a way to have meaningful public participation. One of the benefits of having in-person task force meetings, of course, is that you are able to address the task force members in person. You're able to see their reaction, gauge their attention, and know that they are truly listening to you. If you are just a headless and formless voice on a webinar, it's so difficult to know if anyone is listening to you and what their response is. So the way the webinars worked, there was a few minutes of just setting the agenda, and then DOT and its consultants went through an exercise that the task force members had to do. For this exercise, or this homework, which I will mention, is being done by the task force members themselves, and then they will have one-on-one conversations with DOT and their staff. So that's problematic. First of all, because there's no public review of that. So these task force members are looking at GIS maps and making comments, but it's not open for the public discussion, which is the way we need to be engaging in a project that will have such long-term ramifications. The task force members specifically are instructed to, again, look at the avoidance areas, places that the toll road should not go. Time and time again, there's places that DOT is missing from these avoidance areas. And of course, we believe that the entire state study corridor area should be painted in what is their avoidance color, which is a dark magenta. A new thing for the task force members is to now look at attraction areas, which are places where they think there's going to be benefits. One thing that we've heard and throughout this process is that the perceived benefits of this are really based on assumptions, not facts. The idea of broadband, which we know today is so important, especially with in-person meetings being canceled or put on hold, school children having to complete assignments from their home, broadband connectivity certainly is important. But you don't need to put in 330 miles of toll roads to bring those opportunities to our rural communities. So again, these perceived benefits and the attractions are based on assumptions rather than facts. Throughout the process, we have demanded that DOT and the legislature are transparent about this and show us that these roads have economic viability. We still have not seen that data. And we know that's because the roads will never be able to pay for themselves. And especially now that we will be seeing budget deficits and a very potentially slow economic recovery from this pandemic, I believe that it is completely irresponsible for us to be diverting money that we need for current public health infrastructure to fix the existing infrastructure that people in our communities are already using and protecting our natural resources. Those should be the priorities of our state, not investing money into roads that no one has asked for and frankly will do a lot more damage to our state than good. So each day during the public comment period, DOT mentioned that there was more than 100 people that had signed up for the webinar and to receive public comment. I've in my blog post that I have started writing and that I'll post later today, I can best describe this as a hot mess. Maybe that's not a great technical or professional term, but probably only a quarter of the people whose names were called were actually able to speak and give their 3 minutes of public comment. It's hard to know why that happened. Was it because people signed up and then didn't participate for whatever reason? Or was it because they didn't have the technology or maybe the know-how to access the system and do it in the way that was instructed? So it was really difficult to say. The first 2 days, we had about 30 people each that were able to deliver public comments. Today, I think it was probably closer to 40 or 50. So more than 100 public comments. I only heard 2 people that were in support of the roads. And one of those was a gentleman from Georgia. So he's not even living in one of these areas or a taxpayer in our state. Again, the public comments were similar to what we've heard before, that these roads to ruin are bad for water, they're bad for our health. There's new research from Harvard University's School of Public Health that there is a link between air pollution, cities that have higher air pollution, and increased mortality from COVID-19. We know that there's water pollution that comes with switching over natural areas, paving over wetlands, and putting more impervious surfaces on the ground. That not only brings pollutants into the water, but it also heats up the temperature of the water. We know that these roads are meant to spur development, the type of sprawl that is unsustainable in our state, and that population numbers may be downgraded because of some of the things that we're experiencing right now with this coronavirus pandemic. So it's really irresponsible to build these roads almost on these shifting sands of what our knowledge is of what our economy is going to be in the coming years and the true needs of Floridians. Other comments talk about, again, the danger of fragmenting wildlife habitats, how dangerous these roads are to our iconic wildlife like the Florida panther and the Florida black bear, the importance of native plants and preserving our agriculture. We know that having locally produced food and having a supply chain that is nimble and able to shift from something maybe just tens of miles away, that is going to aid to our state's and really our nation's food security. So this is no time for us to be developing our agricultural areas. If anything, we should be putting more protections in place and giving farmers the abilities to invest in more regenerative agricultural techniques that will provide our food supply needs and have less impact on our natural resources. We heard from rural communities that do not want this, and I think there's this assumption that everyone should want a certain lifestyle, and the people who have chosen to live in some of these smaller rural communities that really are on the path of destruction either have moved there because they want that lifestyle or they've stayed because of that. And this is almost insulting to them that's not good enough, and that these rural areas are just a placeholder for more intensive development to come in the future. We also heard a lot of people that were pivoting the discussion to the pandemic and the urgent needs that we have of our community. When we are seeing millions of people who are unemployed or who have less employment right now, maybe that can't get health insurance, it is really irresponsible to think about spending 10 to 20 billion dollars to build some more asphalt and to pave over some of our most treasured natural areas and our agricultural places. So as Florida conservation voters, a member on the No Roads to Ruin Coalition, and someone just greatly concerned about this, I believe this is the time for us to seriously reevaluate this. We should be putting a pause on these meetings until we can do it in a more open public format, a place where you know that the task force members are listening. By the time those of us in the public were able to comment, who knows who is on the other side of it. In the in-person meetings, you know that someone is there. You can make that eye contact. You know that they're hearing you. But when you're just talking to your computer screen into a countdown clock, you don't know if there's one task force member that's still holding on or if all of them are still there listening. So we believe that this needs to not only be put on pause, really, but to stop, that we need to exit this. We need to say this was a mistake. We are going to invest in our current infrastructure. We're going to prioritize our public and our environmental health. And we're going to say no to the roads to ruin for good. As always, the responsible option, even more now, is no build. So please check our Florida Conservation Voters website in a few hours. My blog will be up there with some of my public comments that I was able to deliver, again, at all 3 of the webinars. I do appreciate all of the folks who were engaged in this and who called in. One benefit is that people didn't have to travel long distances to participate, and were able to speak up maybe in a way that they had not been able to before. But this is not a substitute for a public meeting and meaningful public participation. If DOT wants to add it later to future in-person meetings, then that would be welcome, but this does not take the place of an in-person meeting. So that's way more than I thought I was going to say already. You can see that I'm really passionate about this, and I see that there's some people who are watching. Hope that you are all safe and healthy, that your family and your friends are staying healthy, you're taking care of each other. Hopefully you didn't see any damage from the storm. The only thing I did was get some wet shoes this morning when I took my dog out for a walk. So thank you all for being supporters of the Florida Conservation Voter Movement. For those of you that are not signed up, jump over to our website, sign up for our email list. Make sure that you like the No Roads to Ruin Facebook page. We're going to be launching our own website soon, which is exciting. And we'll keep you updated on all of the MCORS happenings and all the other conservation issues that are critical to our state that we continue to work on while we are sensitive to the global COVID-19 pandemic. We also know that at this time, we have to continue to fight for our environment and healthy communities for everyone. So thanks for listening, and hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday and a restful weekend. Thanks.